in Duluth. Duluth? Duluth. That sounds like the name of a drink. Are we filming? Oh my gosh, hey! We're on! Welcome back, everybody out there in podcast land. We got a little distracted, our current obsession of putting the great Dr. Doofenshmirtz into pretty much every board game.
Oh, we started!
He's a part... yes, we did.
Hi.
Oh wait, hey, you're in. Hi, everybody! Welcome to Gaming with Intention, the Bodhana-Cast. I am not a anthropomorphized terrier. I am, in fact, one of your hosts, Mr. Jack Berkenstock, Executive Director of the Bodhana Group, and one of your lovely hosts, and my lovely co-host.
I'm a professional!
You saying I'm not a professional? Is that how this is going?
I am James Kirk, otherwise known as the Captain. I am here in a support capacity as the lovely co-host, apparently.
Just turn the letters, Vanna. No, I'm just kidding.
So, that hurts.
Yes. Oh, come on, but that is awesome.
Just wait.
Oh, I'm going to get it, but good. So, welcome everyone to the Bodhana-Cast, specifically the Bodhana Breakdown. And what is the Bodhana-Cast? Well, this is a video cast that basically focuses on board games specifically. And what we talk about is we talk about not your normal kind of review show where we talk about, how pretty the art is or, mechanics specifically. We talk about them in terms of what else can you get out of this game.
Go fish.
Go fish? Oh my, I'm all kinds of unprepared. Are we playing canasta? But we talk about what else you can get out of this game out of just pure recreation and enjoyment. So we break this down for the use for parents, it's also for teachers, it's also for therapists who might want to put it into their session. And again, we just try to keep it nice and light and fun.
Fluffy, I think is the word.
Fluffy.
That gets used a lot.
Like Gabriel Iglesias, it's fluffy?
Yes.
All right, I like it. Okay, now I'm hungry for popcorn.
So as always, I do want to mention before we get started that the stuff that we talk about here is a form of adjunct therapy and not meant to be used as direct therapy. So if you're intending to do anything with the actual therapeutic aspects, make sure that you are either a therapist or that you are under the care of, wait for it, a therapist.
Wow.
Now we can continue.
Shocked. Yes.
Continue.
Yeah, it's basically, it doesn't take the place of therapy. It's just, it's something you do in conjunction with, right?
What are we doing today?
Well, I'm very glad you asked. This is episode 4. All aboard! So we're going to be talking about, actually, this is one of your favorite games.
I do love this game so
you
much.
have to, this is going to be you're going to kind of notice as we do more episodes of Gaming with Intention and Bodhana-Cast that certain episodes is going to be like Spotlight James, Spotlight Jack,
Spotlight Doofenshmirtz.
Hello, everybody.
Good news, everyone.
No, that's a different doctor.
Yes,
that's the thing. We'll put doctors in everything because we have Doctor Who's and everything going back here.
Trust me, I'm a doctor. You're so weird. All right, so yeah, today on the plate is Ticket to Ride, and we're going to be talking about this in one of the capacities that this is something called an ambassador game, which we're going to define in a little bit.
So it has diplomatic immunity?
Diplomatic immunity.
It's just been revoked. All right, so first thing that we're gonna do, Jack and I like to kick things off with a little bit of fun, lightheartedness. Yes. So today, in the theme of Ticket to Ride, Jack and I have put ourselves on the train. We are taking the 410 to Albuquerque, and on this train, Jack and I are going to meet up with 3 fictional characters. They can be any fictional characters that Jack and I wanted to pull from.
Fictional characters.
And during this meetup, we have to decide between these 3 fictional characters which character we would completely ignore and not pay a second mind to, a character that we would actually sit down and have a conversation with, and then a character that we would have to get stuck with playing a game of Monopoly. Classic Monopoly.
Oh, man.
Old school.
I can't do a fancy Firefly or Supernatural or even Monopoly Gamer.
It makes my throat burn a little bit when I say it. Yeah, classic Monopoly. Hell.
Yeah.
So, Jack,
Okay.
who have I met on the train?
Oh, all right. And we have not rehearsed this bit. These names are completely 100% new to you. Is that correct?
Oh, no, nothing that is about to be said to me, nor any of the people that I'm about to meet. That's why it's called a meet-up.
How many Wonka bars would you need to eat? No, I'm just kidding. So, your 3 fictional characters are as follows.
47.
47.
Oh,
Very nice.
go ahead.
Robin Hood. I did not say Robin of Locksley, who is an actual person. I'm speaking of Robin Hood. If it makes you feel any better, how about Daffy Duck as Robin Hood?
Thank you. That was because
All right.
is it Kevin Costner Robin Hood? Is it Russell Crowe Robin Hood? Is it the
You know what I loved about Kevin
Disney
Costner's
Fox Robin Hood?
I loved Kevin Costner's convincing British accent. So, next
It was amazing.
celebrity, yes it was. So next fictional character, George Jetson,
Oh God.
and Jaws from the James Bond series, played lovingly by Richard Kiel. That's Mr. Gilmore's jacket! So, Robin Hood, George Jetson, and Jaws from the James Bond. So who would you ignore?
Jaws, I'm gonna leave alone. I can't. I'm totally no.
Seriously?
I can't. I love.
You can't do it?
I love the Bond series, but I can't have a conversation with him without staring at his teeth, which is gonna get me punched.
And
And,
he would
then if
be-
we play Monopoly, everybody knows Monopoly ends friendships, and we're not friends to begin with because I just met the guy.
So he'd chow down
So
on
he would,
you.
yeah, he would
Okay,
eat my
fair
head.
enough.
So Jaws, I have to.
All right.
Jaws, I have to ignore.
Chatting up. Who'd you chat
Chatting
up?
up.
So you have George Jetson and Robin Hood, Daffy Duck, as Robin Hood left.
You know what? I think I would chat up George Jetson. Talk about like fathers. You know what it's like to be a dad. Talk
Okay.
about families and stuff.
All right. Oh,
Uh,
that's so sweet.
Yeah,
So-
George Jetson would be cool to talk to, and then I'd have to play Monopoly with Daffy Duck.
Woo, 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 woo.
Because I feel like the game would get out of control at some point. Like it would be entertaining in and of itself.
Okay.
And
so
then
chuck the dice 'em up?
yeah, and then we'd have to do the yikes in a way at some point.
Oh, this is why I love this. All right, so who are my 3 wonderfuls?
I'm really glad that you went with a animated character because I tried to do the same thing with yours.
We have some things in common, animated
so-
characters and all.
On the train, you meet Sam Malone, the lovable bartender from Cheers. Randy Macho Man Savage,
Oh, yeah.
like kayfabe Savage, right? Yeah.
Elizabeth, will you marry me?
And Shaggy.
Zoinks. All right. Well, okay, so first of all, wow, you stink, man. You stink. Okay, I'll ignore Shaggy because I will assume that he has been investing too much in the green, so he probably wouldn't notice if I was there anyway.
Hurtful, but okay.
I have to chat with Macho Man. Everything that came out of that dude's mouth is like a ringtone. Every single thing. You know what I mean? Which,
So you're going to Albuquerque.
ooh, yeah. There's a song by Weird Al. Ooh, yeah. So I guess that would leave then who am I playing Monopoly with, that poor schmo?
Sam Malone. It's you and Sam playing
Wow.
Monopoly.
That actually sounds like a subplot from an episode that not too many people would have liked. But great show, cheers.
Hotels on a train.
Good night, Mr. Walters. Wow, so that's our opening bit.
So Ticket to Ride.
Yes. She's got a ticket to ride.
I'm not dancing because I want to talk about the game.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about this game, being it's one of your favorites, Mr. James.
Ticket to Ride was developed by Days of Wonder. It was in 2004. It was designed by Alan R. Moore. And, or Alan R. Moon. Alan
You were
Moore
thinking
was,
the comic
I was
book
thinking
guy.
Watchmen. Yeah, that was my bad. Oh, God. Who watches...
The Watchmen. Who watches Ticket to Ride? Doofenshmirtz.
Right.
And
So,
we're back.
it takes approximately like 30 to 60 minutes to play. Ages are like 8 and up that can play the game, so it's really accessible for families.
Oh my God! Well, you're going to talk about that more with the
Yeah,
ambassador,
we can
right?
have you can have like 2 to 5 players, but the sweet spot's really around 4. And that really has as much to do with the max amount of fun with the game as it does about one of the actual mechanics in the game, which is interesting.
Yes, very much so.
So, in Ticket to Ride, you are trying to develop train lines that stretch between cities. You're trying to connect destinations. On the map itself, this is the map of the United States version, and there are many versions.
Many maps. Bunky.
So there's...
That's 2 times.
You know what? And I
I
always forget about that he did Punky.
He was also on Fraggle Rock.
He was on Fraggle Rock.
No,
yeah.
he wasn't.
He wasn't. That was.
I feel shame.
The oatmeal guy. So anyway, all of these cities have destination tickets. They look like this. They're tiny little tickets, and on the other side of them are 2 cities that you have to link, and a point value for linking them. So the idea is you have trains, and you try to place them on the board to be able to connect the cities that you're finishing tickets for.
So, James, how do you place trains upon the board?
Well, that's a fantastic and dramatically asked question, Jack. To be able to do this, you have train cards. Okay? These train cards have different colors on them. The colors match the colors on the board within the lines here. So get cards that match the same color in a certain number and place that many trains on the board between 2 cities. Once you've linked the cities that the ticket is telling you to make, you create the ticket, score the points, and then make the decision of whether you want to get more tickets or not.
Yeah, it's. I mean, one of the good things, and this may actually kind of lead back into the whole ambassador game thing, is it's not a difficult game to learn.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's not like Othello, minutes to learn, a lifetime to master, not anything kind of like that, but it's a very accessible game, which makes it great for families, it makes it great for kids, it makes it good for non-gamers as well. People that look at, something like Gloomhaven are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to, get a brain transplant or, a chip in my head to understand all these rules. But, this game, it's very simple, it's very elegantly presented, and it plays very easy, but there is a lot of... I mean, I don't know, what would you say about this game in terms of... The whole ambassador thing. I mean, you have a lot of experience with this game. Like we mentioned, this is kind of one of your favorites.
So let's talk about ambassador games since we keep
Yeah.
bringing this up. So the idea behind ambassador games are that this is the type of game that you can, if you're heavily into the hobby or even if you just sort of play games now and then, this is the type of game that you can take to people that don't play board games or don't really have an understanding of board games, and be able to get them into the idea of sitting down at a table and playing a game with you, just because of the rules and the way that they're designed. It's a very simplistic game that still has a good amount of strategy, and the ideas behind the gameplay translate to a lot of other games that you can then spin off of and play. And there are other ambassador-type games out there, but I really wanted to pick this one as the first one, because this is one that I used to introduce some of my family members to. Yep. Which, fun anecdote, when I pulled this out at Christmas last year, they looked at it like it was some kind of like nuclear football that I had put down on the table, because I set the whole thing up and they're like, do we sit down next to it? How does the...
Is it going to explode?
Yeah, it was really weird. But some of them ended up playing with me, and they had a good time. We spent an hour together that we don't normally spend because everybody just stares at each other and watches football.
Well, and it's also very accessible in terms that this is also one of those games that is kind of more commonly found. I mean, this isn't one that it's not like you got to buy it like the same shop that they bought Mogwai in. It's you can find this at a Target or
the
Walmart
Chinese kitsch store.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you can actually find this at Target.
Yeah.
Or regular other general distribution stores.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into a little bit more detail in a segment a couple steps down here. So normally, as we always do, one of our public service announcements is, we talk a lot about the positive aspects of any kind of game here, but we would be remiss if we did not mention that, gaming does have, from time to time, certain side effects. So we always want to mention some of the possible side effects that you will get when playing a game of Ticket to Ride.
So I do want to mention one of the dangers of this is that you may randomly start finding yourself saying, woo, woo! And you are not Ric Flair, Zack Ryder, or Charlotte, or really any wrestler.
So wait, so you have because I'm almost thinking like the woos go almost in like a pattern of like 1, 2, 3, because it's like woo, then it's like woo woo, and then woo woo woo.
You know it.
We brought it back to wrestling again.
Yeah, we're good.
One of the side effects I've noticed is you have the uncontrollable desire to start wearing denim hats.
You can also begin to explain distance to people. Like somebody asks, how far is it to your house? And you start explaining it in the number of trains that they would have to lay to be able to get there. It's approximately 74 trains to get to my place. We don't have that many, so you're not coming.
Yeah, well, that'll take forever. If train A leaves New York at 6 o'clock p.m. and it's traveling 90 miles per hour, and train B leaves San Francisco at 9 a.m., traveling at 120 miles per hour. Can Superman really make time go backwards by flying around the Earth at 60,000 miles per hour? Not a side effect, but I really was just wondering, are you working out the problem? Do you want me to take... What are you doing over here?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
And do you want to take our last possible side effect?
You will actually solve the mystery of conjunction junction and what its function is.
Very nice, very nice. So, now that you have all been sufficiently made aware of your side effects, we're going to go into, again, kind of one of our favorite bits of the show.
It's really the bit.
The bit.
Why we're here.
It's kind of the reason we're doing the raison d'etre of the show. This week on
Now
French
that we're at
terms,
dinner.
Jack doesn't understand.
Now that we're at dinner, we're going to enjoy our favorite part of dinner, which is the food.
Now that we're at dinner, we're going to be dining, because it's the root word. But no, now is the time where we talk about what this game brings to people in terms of what skills can this build, or what things can you practice or learn through application of this game. Now, when we mentioned earlier about, gaming being kind of adjunct to therapy in addition to it, not all or even most of the games that we're going to talk about in this portion are going to delve highly into the therapeutic aspects in terms of actual clinical work. But we are going to talk a lot about skill building, because that's one of those things that's actually been getting a lot more attention lately, is the whole psychology of play and the therapy of play in general.
There are some ideas behind therapeutic gaming that, you think about therapeutic gaming and you think, well, it's going to be really difficult to play this while I'm laying on a couch. And that's not, exactly what we're going for here. I broke Jack. So, the idea of skill building.
Wait, we should have one of those, when you play a game of pool and you have, the rack. What we should do is, we'll put, a rack behind us.
You want an abacus?
What? Yes, a very large one-string abacus that hangs there. So every time I break you, I, go... And I just sling it over. I'm sorry. We now return you to your regular scheduled piece of actually important information.
I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to do this.
Consummate professionals.
All right. So, the idea behind skill building, that's really what we're going for here, because games can be used to develop skills in a way that people don't even realize that they're building them. Which is really part of the beauty of the whole thing, is being able to teach somebody something that they want to learn without making it feel like school. Right?
Well, yeah, and I mean the other way is, you're playing the game, you're working through a lot of, different kind of muscles, a lot of developmental milestones, a lot of ways that, and actually to kind of hire, to show you a little bit more of what we're talking about here, you want to take the first one, James?
Yeah, so let's talk about the critical thinking aspect. This is something that we mentioned in earlier episodes that we said could apply to mostly every game that you play. There's always going to be some amount of thinking involved.
Fair enough.
But in a critical thinking aspect, for this game, you have a limited amount of trains to build with. And you have a certain amount of space that you have to cover. So, remember when I mentioned that 4 people is the sweet spot? One of the reasons for that is because some of these train lines on the map have 2 lines that go parallel to each other. They may be different colors and things like that. If you're playing with less than 4 players, if somebody builds on one of these train lines, the other one gets shut out. If you have 4 players, both routes can be used between the same city. So it makes it a little more strategic in that there's more space on the board. But while you're building, you want to plan your route. You want to figure out, how can I most efficiently build my line so that I get to where I'm going, but I leave myself the most resources possible so that I can continue to build on what I've already made once I go for more destination tickets to try to get more points to be able to win the game. So efficiency and route planning are the 2 things that I think go to critical thinking that are not your normal run-of-the-mill type of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look around this map, there's multiple connective points. So, I mean, it's not necessarily that, like, one player takes a certain route that you wanted. It's not that you can't work around that within the context of the game, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult because only certain tracks have double lines.
Right.
Actually, we'd say that actually double lines make up kind of a minority of
They
the
do.
board, really.
Yeah, they do.
So, you got to be very careful. Plus, the colors and having the, the appropriate available colors in your hand really kind of makes you more critically think about where you want to go. Because, at any given time, you have, up to 3 different tickets?
You can have as many tickets as you
Oh,
want.
that's right.
That's the
part
thing.
of the
So
the
there's
turns, yeah.
part of the critical thinking batch with this as well is that you get 1 action per turn. You can either build trains on the board, or you can take tickets into your hand, like you can get more destination tickets, or you can draw more of these cards in an attempt to try to get the colors that you need to build. So you also have to plan that as well, because you have to be able to watch what your opponents are doing and know that as the game gets sped up and you get toward the end, you only have a limited amount of time to be able to complete this stuff, right? So that takes me to, hey, I was going to build there. Which gets into the resiliency packet of this whole thing. You have a plan. You have carefully crafted your route. You know exactly where you're going to go. And then some jerk takes the 4 green spots. The 4 green spots that you were going to take.
Wait, do you mean the soda green spot?
That's what I mean.
That's
yeah.
a Pennsylvania thing.
It'll make you feel better.
Hello.
So, once they do that, now this carefully planned route that you have is all gone to pot. So now you need to figure out another way to get to the same place that you're going. And again, now you have to recalculate efficiency and do all those things. So being able to respond to changes on the board as it continues, and if your plan gets thrown out the window, being able to make a new one on the fly. If you're collecting a certain color of cards and you needed 1 more to be able to do something, and then somebody took that route, like, well, now I've got 5 blue cards, but I have nothing blue to build on, so what do I do with these? Stuff like that. So being able to respond to those types of changes are really key and can help somebody not only develop a plan, but then understanding that your plans are not always going to go according to plan, and then you need to make a new plan because the old plan got outplanned by somebody else's plan.
Hey, bro, I heard you like plans, so I put some plans in your plans.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, the other thing that goes along with it James is describing is another one of these qualities that gaming, we talk a lot about teaching people not only to be, good winners and sportsman-like winners, but also being kind of gracious, quote-unquote, not winners. One of the things with that recalculating of strategy, and one of the, yes, please don't table flip. Like, literally, if you have a 5-player game, it'll turn into like 300 pickup, and like cats are eating your trains. It's just not a good time. But the developing of resiliency, which is basically the idea of kind of dealing with, adversity, dealing with, quote-unquote failure. One of the things that I really like about this game, and I've actually, there's a bunch of games that I noticed this in because of the way that we kind of, look at the hobby, is if you don't get a certain ticket met by the end of the game, you have to subtract that number of points from your overall score. So one of the kind of sneaky ways and the sneaky skill that that's teaching is the fact that as much as you plan, unless you're understocking yourself with tickets to achieve, there's gonna be, like, you can't have the most complete perfect game every time that you play this, especially if you're playing it with multiple people.
Well, I mean, you can.
Well, if you're not a person with a nickname that bears rank, like me, my nickname or my name is What Lifts Your Car, or a game that children haven't played since 1912. So this basically gets a person used to the idea of not being able to be the complete abject winner all the time. And that's a good skill, because that develops our ability that things aren't always going to work out the way that we would like them to in life. And it's a good transitional element to be able to take from a game, that if you can kind of, lose a game that you've been planning, like you're riding high for the whole thing, and then all of a sudden the game just kind of tanks for you, or you wind up falling behind a person who, at the last minute, they just kind of strove ahead with, like, this major ticket score. That's okay. Reset the board, try again. And that whole try again ideology is something very, very important, which is a huge part of critical thinking as well, like not giving up.
It was a
back into re-strategizing.
It was a tagline that I'd submitted that never actually got put into the game. Ticket to Ride. Sometimes life is poo.
That's brilliant. So one of the next next areas here. See, my Freudian slip is showing. So one of the next areas.
Educational purposes. Yeah. So the simple one that you could look at is be like, color matching. I have red cards, there's red spaces. I now know red. 5 trains. Sure. Yes. Yeah. So there's basic stuff like that. One cool thing, though, that you can take away from this, basic geographical location. The maps that are used in these games are, like, legitimately accurate maps for the areas that you build these trains on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different areas. They started with the United States, and then they went to a Europe expansion, and then from there it became crazy. Like, Ticket to Ride, Africa. Ticket to Ride, the Netherlands.
Well, what is it, Europe 1910?
Yeah.
So they're even traveling back in time.
So, educational purposes, if you want somebody to understand where San Francisco is...
So if you're going to San Francisco?
That's where I left my heart.
No, see, I was doing the please be sure to wear some flowers in your hair.
No, I got that.
Jealous. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were both making song references.
I understand
completely. The Jukebox Brothers, how you doing? So, yeah, I mean, another smaller element, I guess, that we don't talk about quite as much, so it's part of your strategy, but it also...
Oh, right,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the idea of initiative.
Yes, initiative, which is basically the concept of risk and reward, because a lot of times people can there's a term that we're most definitely going to use in a lot more episodes in the future, but it's called paralysis by analysis. You might hear a lot of gamers talk about this, and it's literally where it's like...
I've never talked about that.
Come on, Ron, it's like 5 hours and you're still on your turn. You're like, well, I need to calculate exactly, how, this is going to go. And, sometimes you got to take a chance. Sometimes you got to take a risk. And it could be a calculated risk, but that whole act of considering your options and taking that little bit of a chance on something... That can be huge when trying new projects or taking on new endeavors. It's one of these very important developmental skills where sometimes, going back to resiliency, it may not work out the way that you want it, but you know what? You gave it a shot. That develops confidence. Confidence develops a person's ability future to try other new things. So it's a good character building skill.
A scenario that happens fairly often in this game illustrates this. You're down 10 points. You're down 10 points. It's toward the end of the game. You basically have 1 turn left. You don't really have many trains to build with, but you have a pretty good line of trains throughout the map. So you can take a chance and pull some destination tickets, trying to get a destination that's already been made with the trains that you've built. Yeah. It happens quite often. Like, I have trains going from Denver to Kansas City. Perhaps I will pull a ticket that gives me Denver to Kansas City, and then I can score some last-minute points.
It might be small points, but you're still scoring.
Or I can completely put my foot in my mouth, and I can pull 3 tickets, and they're like, San Francisco to New York, 27 points. And I'm like, well, I didn't do that. So, taking that risk at the end of the game to eke out those extra couple of points to be able to kind of solidify the victory for you is something that happens virtually every game, almost. Making that decision on whether to go for more points or whether to play it safe.
Yeah, so I mean, we also normally, towards the end of every show, we like to talk about various takeaways or various places that this could
Are we at the end
be
of the
more.
show?
We are coming close to the edge.
So we are almost reaching our destination.
Destination anywhere,
Chugging
east or
along.
west, I don't
Yeah,
care.
Sounds good.
Choo Choo Charlie was his name. Old commercials, because apparently I was born in the wrong decade. So obviously, I mean,
Evidenced by the fact that he says decade.
So some takeaways, obviously, since we say there's some educational benefit that can be got for this game, it is a good use for intros to geography, so right there's kind of an automatic fit, so you could even have the Europe or, talking about time periods and stuff like that. So some other, if you want to go ahead and take the next one.
What, for the takeaways?
Yeah.
What did we write there? I can't read.
Not a problem. Basically, ask your students to create great sites to see on a particular travel. So if they kind of, if they've made a route. So let's just say someone like over here, I got New York to St. Louis. Well, have the kids research what might be some great travel destinations or some locations to stop, almost like, helping Chevy Chase plan the great trip in the family truckster,
The biggest ball of twine in Minnesota.
Oh, which is an actual place, actually, that I found out, actually.
Which is actually...
Yes, I've said
in actuality, that place is an actual place. Actually.
And then...
the other one is plan a field trip. Take your kids to a famous railroad site. The reason that we mention this is because we're based in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania actually has a couple of fairly cool ones. The Blue Mountain Railroad.
Yeah.
They also have a really, I'm going to use the word jihugic, miniature railroad set up at a place called Roadside America. That's really super fun to walk around. I say super fun because it was when I was 10. I don't know how I'd feel about it now. So it's pretty neat.
Hello? Oh, it's Webster. They said stop using words that aren't words.
Shove it!
Okay.
Takes care of that.
All right. Yeah, no, Roadside America is an amazing local destination.
It's fun, yeah.
It's also kind of like a time travel. It's this huge setup of model train stuff. It's absolutely beautiful.
So along with the takeaways and some of those ideas, we, as we always, petition everybody at the end of the episode to do homework. You have homework. You have a homework assignment. Get back to us with games that you feel like also fit that moniker of ambassador. Games that you've used to introduce people to the hobby of gaming, or games that you use to be able to teach people about playing board games, or just games that are really simple and accessible that you have a lot of fun with, things of that nature, and why you feel like those things fit that bill.
Yeah, what game do you always have in your trunk just in case you're somewhere with some time to game? And it could be a small card game or it could be zombie dice, something like that. Anything that you find is that perfect way to introduce. Because the one thing we found is everybody kind of has their own choice.
Jack has now said zombie dice, which means that you cannot use the answer of zombie dice if you write it as an ambassador game. Because now you would be stealing Jack's answer, and I don't want to hear him cry and whine about how somebody stole his idea.
Yeah, because I'm all out of tissues, and that blubbering is just not cool.
It's terrible.
For me, because it's weird, the facial hair.
Snot comes out of places I didn't think snot should come out of.
That is snot what I want.
It's like watching his ears drool.
Now. Oh. So when are my ears are in the front of my face now?
No, that's funny because it comes out the sides while you're crying.
So why don't we talk about if they would like some more information?
Well, that's your thing.
That's my thing.
You should do the thing.
All right. So, if you are a person that is interested in learning a little bit more about the therapeutic or educational or skill-building aspects of any kind of board game that's out there, if you'd like maybe advice on a project, if you have a board game club you'd like to start up, or if you're an educator who wants to bring some of this stuff into your classroom, or a therapist, any use of board games in general. Or
if you're lonely and need somebody to talk to.
It's 1-800-BODHANA. Please feel free to email us, the Bodhana Group at gmail.com, or you can visit us at www.thebodhanagroup.org.
Our operators are standing by to be able to keep
No,
you
we
company
gave them chairs. They don't have to
all
stand
afternoon.
by. We also want to, as usual, say thank you for our wonderful filmers and producers and hosters. We are part of the Wicked Turtle Network, which they have a lot of lovely, unique content. And if you are a person who has a voice but no microphone or network, Wicked Turtle is looking for new talent. So please, they will have information here at the end of this video cast that you can go ahead and connect to them as well. It's in some other kind of Bodhana news, and we'll talk a little bit about this here, some plugs. If you are in the tri-state area, again, talking about Doofenshmirtz in the tri-state area, we just announced Save Against Fear 2018, Save Against Fear 8 in the 80s, so it's like totally tubular, gnarly, man, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is our annual fundraiser convention. It's a 3-day game con, so if you check out the other places to get in touch with us, our Facebook pages for either Save Against Fear or the Bodhana Group, Bodhana, you can find out information on how you can get involved with that. We're at this point taking applications for vendors, for GMs, for volunteers, for demo agents. If you're a game designer, hey, you're saying, hey, my game's educational and beneficial too. I want to play. I want other people to play. Contact us. We can have you come out to Save Against Fear and demo your stuff. Get some new playtest feedback. So I think that's pretty much...
We said that we would keep you company all afternoon because we have to go to sleep in the evening. We're a normal type of people.
All right, so I think I'm going to take the mantle of consummate professional at least once during this whole broadcast, because James has held the helm, but he is the captain.
$1.79 for the first minute. $3,000 for each additional minute.
That's actually not a bad plan.
Oh, child.
Oh, yeah. So again, I have been one of your hosts, Jack Berkenstock, Executive Director of the Bodhana Group.
I have been the other host,
Prince Valiant.
Valiant and Valiant. The captain, James Kirk, and thank you for joining us for episode 4 of Bodhana-Cast, the Intention Gaming with...
Yeah, it is kind of a long title, isn't it? We gotta have like a weird letter thing.
I actually did that on purpose so that I could
GWITV.
help you for having a large title. That's why I did this. Bye, everybody.
All right. We'll catch you next time. Remember, folks, great gaming out there, okay?